Mientras los dinosaurios rugían bajo el sol, algo mucho peor esperaba a 200 metros bajo la superficie oceánica. Un ser tan colosal que devoraba tiburones enteros, tan raro que la ciencia moderna aún discute su nombre. Pero ese depredador supremo aparecerá al final del viaje. Primero, debemos cruzar el abismo del tiempo profundo. Close your eyes and picture the planet as it was 150 million years ago. Continents have not yet settled into the shapes we know today. Vast warm oceans wrap the world in salt. The atmosphere is thick, the sun soft through prehistoric mist, and the sea itself is not blue. It is amber. It is emerald. It is ash. This is a world that no longer exists, forever gone. Above the waves, the giants we all remember are stomping into legend across every prehistoric horizon we imagine. Long-necked sauropods drink at inland shores. Feathered predators stalk the ferns. Pterosaurs cut the golden sky like paper. This is the age everyone knows. The age of the dinosaur, the age of thunder walking across warm land. But the story you were told is only half a story, because another empire was quietly rising beneath. While the dinosaurs ruled the sunlit surface, an empire without footprints or roars was rising in the deep. An empire of cold, silent, patient hunters that would grow larger than any tyrant that ever walked land. Los secretos de este mundo perdido del Mesozoico were sealed away by time, stone, and endless salt water. Only now, only in the last few decades, are we finally beginning to hear those ancient voices again. The Mesozoic seas covered far more of the Earth than any ocean covers our planet in the present day. They were warmer, richer in oxygen, threaded with shallow inland seaways that cut whole continents cleanly in half. North America itself was split down the middle by a warm salt corridor of rising prehistoric tropical tides. Europe was a shattered chain of tropical islands. Africa drifted alone, half submerged beneath warm silver Mesozoic waves. Everywhere the water pushed inland, it carried its passengers with it. And its passengers were absolute monsters. To the dinosaur on the beach, that shining surf was the border of another world it could not enter. A world where its size meant nothing, where the true apex predators of the Mesozoic were already circling. Into this water slid the first great predator of our story. A hunter older than the tyrant kings. Long before Tyrannosaurus, before Triceratops, before dinosaurs matured into their famous forms, the ichthyosaur was already perfect. Perfect in the way only deep time can shape a body. It looked like a dolphin, swam like one. But it was not a mammal, not a fish. It was a reptile that had returned to the sea. A reptile so at home in the water it had forgotten the land, an alien born of ancient blood. Ichthyosaurus had a body like polished silver, a long snout studded with conical teeth built for grip. A vertical tail that beat the water in a slow, powerful rhythm, driving it through the abyss. And its eyes were unlike anything else that has ever lived on this blue planet of ours. Some species carried eyes the size of dinner plates, eyes as wide as a full human head. Eyes built to gather every last photon from the twilight depths where the sun no longer reaches. Because the ichthyosaur was a diver, a silent hunter of the cold and depressing dark below. It plunged hundreds of meters into the crushing pressure to hunt ancient squid drifting in glittering swarms. It held its breath like a whale, navigating by sight and by senses we still cannot name. A sense of pressure and echo we only guess at from the strange shape of its ancient skull. And here is where La Ciencia Moderna revela one of the most beautiful secrets of the abyss. In shale quarries in southern Germany, paleontologists unearthed ichthyosaur fossils frozen at the very moment of birth. The mother mid-labor, the pup emerging tail first from her body, sealed in stone for 200 million years. These animals did not lay eggs on land. They could not. They gave live birth in the open sea, just like modern dolphins do, tens of millions of years before the very first whale ever existed. The ichthyosaur was the true pioneer, the first great reptilian conqueror of the entire Mesozoic ocean depth. But it was not alone. A parade was rising behind it of stranger shapes and sharper hunger. Then came the plesiosaur. Imagine a body shaped like a barrel, wide and flat and stable underwater. Now, attached to that broad body, 4 enormous limbs. Not fins, not paddles. Underwater wings, beating steadily. Each single wing the length of a grown man, sweeping in a synchronized figure eight through the sea. It flew like a modern sea turtle flies today, only far larger, far stranger, far more terrifying. Now, at the very front of that barrel, attach a neck impossibly longer than the body itself, tipped with a small, delicate skull, crammed full of interlocking needle teeth, built for one lethal purpose. This was Plesiosaurus, a slow, patient ambush predator hanging motionless in the warm, sunlit tropical coastal shallows. It used that impossible neck to strike sideways at passing fish before they ever registered a threat. The body did not move. Only the head, whipping out of the gloom, was their last vision. Plesiosaurus was only the beginning. Its descendants grew grotesque, stretching necks toward monstrous new geometries beneath the Cretaceous sun. Elasmosaurus grew a neck 7 meters long, longer than a school bus, crowned by a head barely horse-sized. It cruised the Cretaceous shores like a living fishing rod, sweeping across shoals of prey in slow horizontal arcs. Nothing in Earth's history has ever looked quite like it. One of the truest aliens our planet has produced. Around and beneath these giants swam the ammonites, spiraled shells the size of car wheels, sometimes tractor tires. They carried intelligent tentacled hunters inside them, cousins of the modern nautilus and octopus, armored in mineral geometry. They jetted through the water in pulses. They hunted, they mated, they built vast ammonite cities across the reefs. Hold a fossilized ammonite in your hands today, and you are holding the shell of a Mesozoic mind. Gliding above them all, a shadow 4 meters wide moved through the light. Archelon, the largest sea turtle ever. Its flippers alone were the length of a human being. Its leathery back shrugged off the teeth of predators. It fed on the ammonites, crushing those spiral shells in a beak strong enough to bite through bone. This was a coexisting layered world. Divers in the deep, long necks in the shallows, ammonites among the reefs. Turtles above, ichthyosaurs slicing through the middle water like torpedoes. A whole civilization of prehistoric predators stacked in zones. Predators hunting each other in vertical layers, in a rhythm as old and patient as the ocean tide itself. And then, something with jaws changed everything. Its name is Mosasaurus. The Mesozoic ocean became a battlefield. Mosasaurus was not a dinosaur, not a fish, not a plesiosaur. It was a lizard, a true lizard. Closer in blood to a modern monitor or a Komodo dragon than anything else swimming in that ancient sea. But it had grown into something for which no modern comparison exists. The largest specimens stretched 17 meters, the length of a city bus, sheathed in dark scales, driven by a broad flattened tail through explosive surges. Its head alone was longer than a grown man is tall, a weapon evolution has almost never repeated. A double-hinged jaw like a snake's that could unlock and swallow prey nearly its own colossal size. Behind the front teeth, a second row mounted on the roof of the mouth, pterygoid anchor hooks. Once something entered a mosasaur's jaws, nothing pulled it back out. Nothing escaped that living cage of teeth. For decades, scientists assumed Mosasaurus was a cold-blooded ambush hunter, a lazy killer of the warm shallows. But la ciencia moderna revela otherwise. Recent isotope studies of mosasaur tooth enamel tell a stranger truth. This animal maintained a body temperature warmer than the water around it. It was endothermic, warm-blooded. It could hunt cold currents, deep canyons, polar seas where slower reptiles could never dare to follow. In every functional sense, the great white shark of its era, but larger, smarter, armed by nightmares. It was el depredador más temido of its sea. It ate ammonites, crushing those armored shells like walnuts. It ate plesiosaurs, biting through their long necks in a single snap. It ate sharks, turtles, other mosasaurs, yet even the mosasaur feared the deeper dark. Because there was another layer below, one we barely understand, a place where the sun could not reach and the water pressed like cold glass on descending bones. This is the true abyss of the Mesozoic. Its inhabitants still surface, bone by bone, in forgotten museum drawers. Down there swam bioluminescent squid, ancestors of vampire squid, blinking blue and green messages across the black. Down there hunted Cretoxyrina, the Jinsu shark, a 6-meter torpedo of muscle and blade with serrated teeth.
Fossil evidence shows Cretoxyrina attacked pterosaurs, dragged mosasaurs into the depths, stripped flesh from plesiosaurs in feeding frenzies. It was one of the great forgotten monsters of the Mesozoic, overshadowed by louder names but no less deadly. Down there also spread microbial mats, vast blooms of ancient bacteria thriving where oxygen thinned to nothing. Some blooms became dead zones, toxic sulfur clouds that suffocated any large animal that swam through them. Bones of countless unnamed sea creatures rained into these dead zones, preserved in perfect anoxic silence forever. Today, drawers in museum basements hold vertebrae, ribs, and skull fragments that no one has yet identified. They belong to no known species. They wait for a name in the lightless Cretaceous floors through secrets. We think we know the Mesozoic Ocean. We do not. We know perhaps a fraction of its species. The rest are still down there, in stone, in silt, in the dark of geologic time, a world lost. Above them, the sky was already beginning to burn. Before it burned, the sea reached its most violent flowering. This is the moment paleontologists call the late Cretaceous climax. Every food web on Earth stretched to breaking, and nowhere was it stretched tighter than beneath the waves. Picture the scene: a pod of 7 Elasmosaurs, gliding through a warm, shallow shelf in what is now Kansas. Their long necks arch like living question marks. They graze on fish, harmless, elegant, unaware. Below them, the seabed glows white with crushed ammonite shells. The water is warm, the light is amber. And then, without warning, the shadow arrives beneath the pod. A 17-meter mosasaur moves fast, moves low, sliding beneath the pod. It selects the smallest one and rises. Rising like a submarine breaching, the strike is not a bite, it is a collision of impossible mass. The Elasmosaur is lifted from the water by the force, its long neck snapped clean at the mid-arc. Its body hangs limp before the mosasaur's second row of teeth closes shut. The pod scatters in silent panic, but the mosasaur is not alone. Cretoxyrina sharks, drawn by the vibrations, are already circling the kill. What one mosasaur cannot finish, a dozen sharks will strip completely clean within minutes of the initial strike. Fossil evidence of exactly this event has been recovered: Elasmosaur ribs bearing mosasaur tooth marks and shark scars. All in the same skeleton, all inflicted within minutes. We have the crime scene. We have the evidence. We know exactly how these ancient hunts ended, buried in silt, waiting quietly through 100 million years. On the surface, a pterosaur skims low over the water, hunting fish visible through the shallow depths. A mosasaur watches from the abyss below. It waits. The pterosaur dips. The jaw explodes upward, wing shattering. The bird lizard is dragged under before its scream can finish. This was not rare. This was every single day. The Cretaceous ocean was a food web collapsing under its own weight. Predators had grown too large, too hungry. Prey had grown too armored. Every hunt cost more energy. Every survival cost more luck. The system was straining. Then the sea itself began to change color. 66 million years ago, a mountain fell from the sky. It struck what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The impact site is called Chicxulub, forever scarred.
The asteroid was roughly 10 kilometers wide, faster than any bullet, striking the shallow sea with catastrophic force. The impact unleashed the force of billions of nuclear weapons detonating together in one single world-shattering instant. The ocean at ground zero vaporized. A wall of water taller than a mountain range rolled across the Gulf. A curtain of superheated rock rained across half the planet, setting forests aflame from continent to continent. But the fire was not what killed the abyss. What killed the abyss was the silence that came after. Dust and sulfur choked the upper atmosphere. The sun disappeared for months, perhaps years. The surface temperature dropped. In the ocean, something quieter and far more lethal was happening. The impact vaporized enormous deposits of sulfate rock. That sulfur combined with water above. Acid rain fell on every sea on Earth for months without ever stopping. Ocean acidification is a slow killer, but a total one. It starts at the base, dissolving the tiny shell builders. When the plankton die, the ammonites starve. When the ammonites collapse, the sharks that hunted them collapse too. When plesiosaurs cannot find prey, they collapse. When elasmosaurs vanish, the mosasaurs starve. Then the mosasaurs vanish too. In a geological blink, less than 100,000 years, the entire cast of this story disappears forever. Ammonites, 300 million years of spiraled evolution, gone. Plesiosaurs, gone. Elasmosaurs, gone. Ichthyosaurs, last cousins, gone. The mosasaurs, apex predators of the seas, gone. Cretoxyrina, gone. Archelon, gone. Un mundo que ya no existe. Silenced, sealed under new layers of sediment. The great Mesozoic ocean went quiet forever, its wonders drowned in stone. But the abyss kept one final secret alive, down where the light never reached, in the deep-sea refugia. Where currents ran cold and stable, acidification never fully penetrated. Life did not stop. It flickered. It held on. La Ciencia Moderna revealed this in a fish called the coelacanth, believed extinct for 66 million years. Wiped out with the mosasaurs, gone forever. Until 1938, when a South African fisherman hauled one alive. Blue and prehistoric and impossibly whole. The coelacanth had survived the asteroid and every subsequent extinction event. It waited in the deep, in the dark, in the unchanging cold of the abyssal cliffs, while others vanished. And the coelacanth is not alone. New research from the 2020s extracts fragments of preserved Mesozoic organic molecules. Deep-sea sediment cores yield tiny protein signatures, hints of DNA-like structures, whispers of species that never fossilized. They never washed ashore. The abyss remembers what land forgot, keeping its dead in a cold library. We are only beginning to read that library. The Mesozoic ocean is gone, but did not vanish completely. It seeped into the modern deep, into the trenches, into the bioluminescent silence 6,000 meters down. Every giant squid, every gulper eel, every anglerfish burning its lantern in the black carries ancient memory, a memory of that older sea. The monsters are not dead, they only changed shape and went deeper. One epoch ended, another was already stirring. If this journey moved you, we invite you onward now. Suscríbete para continuar el viaje a un mundo que ya no existe. Activa la campana para no perder. In the next episode,